it's almost like instead of like the question of what ad should we produce, it's now like, who are we going after and why? And what are we going to show them? Because you can run a 24/7 sale. Yes, your new customers hit the ground, and all of your competitors who are educating and giving a good user experience are going to win. And that's unfortunately what a lot of companies that we worked with recently have been seeing. And that's why we're kind of rebuilding them. The topic that we're going to be covering today is creative. And I think creative is an important topic to discuss because it's what no one wants to discuss. We want to discuss the cool little like ninja hacks and tricks and tracking and algorithmic changes and all that kind of good stuff. But the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, creative is not only here to stay; it's now more important than ever. So we're looking at the creative, which I actually just got off an hour-long phone call with our good friends over at who is our small little test. And they said, John, what more creative do you need? What do we need to produce? What else can we do? And what's funny is I think that type of mentality of having that kind of like go-getter attitude and that kind of stuff is the reason why this campaign is still performing as good as it is today, really, without actually making any sort of changes. So we're going to kind of talk about the meta creative first, because Google Creative is going to be for a whole kind of different reason. Demand gen is just a massive dumpster fire if you actually import the real results and even look at like landing page conversion rates. There seems to be very little that we can do instead of demand gen to get actual cold traffic. And unfortunately, it's something where there is, how would I describe this? I have clients even trying to like, look for help elsewhere. I'm like, hey, demand just struggling. And so you get the clients that are like, okay, cool, I'll take this under my plate and see if I can like kind of help and figure it out and everything. And it's just becoming a worse and worse and worse environment for actual good performance. So demand gen, I think, is more struggling because it is a warm traffic, kind of PMAX-esque approach to outbound targeting, which doesn't actually work at all. Outbound targeting is just one second, everyone. Sorry,
Yeah, I mean, outbound targeting, from what John is saying, is pretty much just going after conversion based on Google is just going after warm traffic because it's over prioritizing people that are showing warm signals and it doesn't have enough information to go after new and cold. And if you have a lot of ad spend that's being pumped over from Meta, then Google's going to scoop all that up, and it's easier for it to scoop it up because there's all this traffic that's already coming from the awareness on Meta. Yeah. So conversion-based leans more into that. It's more like a lookalike, I would say.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is it almost seems like it is YouTube can work well when it has to push back past all the warm traffic. And I'll actually cover that as a topic at the end of this, where we're going to be doing a little bit of I guess I'll just do like more of an evaluation. I have two clients that both have taken complete opposite approaches, just as an example. Actually, I have a few different clients that have taken opposite approaches. And what's interesting about the creative now in Meta is Google predetermines, even in some aspects, where the ads will drive themselves to, where they will target based on even just the type of ad. What I mean by that is if I go into, let's do this. I have an account called X. Now this one we are using a Andromeda style campaign optimizing for new customers only. And
Andromeda style means just Advantage Plus.
Yes. Andromeda style, well, Advantage Plus, but using Advantage Plus with it, which Andromeda style essentially means one campaign, one asset, all available possible creatives. Now, the bad part is we don't have creatives. And that's kind of what's important about this test is in this, let's just say last 7 days, we're not running, what's it called? We're not running a 4th of July sale just because this is like bulk buy of B2B tile. Not sexy, not interesting, and something that you could greatly benefit from good creative, but it doesn't have good creative yet. What we're doing right now is actually with one asset and a DPA ad that is using a collage essentially. So we have a catalog ad on a carousel. So people can go through these things and just simply swipe through. What's that?
Pretty straightforward.
Exactly. This was originally designed as a remarketing tool for our Google Ads campaign. We spent a lot more money on Google. So what's interesting about this structure and setup though is if we look at, let's just say May 1st and we go to this time period here, we had this campaign running, which was we called it remarketing, but these two literally identical. They are the same exact campaign. It's the same structure, the same setup. The only thing is this one is going towards meta purchases, as well as website purchases for all of the standard purchase events. And this one is going against a purchase NC only. Now, what's interesting about this is, let's just say from May 1st, we actually started this one more recently. This one hasn't had enough time to really optimize like the other one had. This one's only been running for about, was that 20 days? This one here was running for actually like 2 months. So it's not an apples to apples comparison, but I do want to kind of share with you what we're seeing kind of more lately. So I'll just use all of May.
Real quick too, before we go too much into it. Purchase NC is new customer, and that's via third-party CAPI imports. So it's real new customer data coming in. Yeah, just want to put that out there again.
No, that's perfect. Thank you very much for that. So this one, as an example, in May, we're seeing with 10 grand in ad spend, $47 CPA, and 197 website purchases. So $47 global CPA. In the last 7 days on our rebuild, we have 78. So it's not as good. However, if we look at the $2,000 in ad spend and the 54 purchases, so we have 2035 divided by 54, this is giving us a 3768 CPA. So 3768 CPA compared to all of May when we were only running the other one, it was giving us a $47 CPA. So 37, so it's actually $10 cheaper in global CPA, but it is actually optimizing now only towards new, which is giving us a $78 essentially, first click imported NCAC. So this campaign is better at getting conversions and better at getting new conversions. The only difference is what we're optimizing for. However, the reason why I bring this up is that out of 54 purchases, only 26 are new. Why is this struggling to go cold? And why is this struggling to get, at least more than half new customers? I mean, this is essentially people ordering $3,000 and $4,000 sample, $3,000 and $4,000 worth of tile at a time. Like, this is not a hard campaign to get new customers on. Like it shouldn't be. Like, how many returning customers like, you know what, hell, I'm going to order $4,000 and more tile. You convinced me to do my garage now instead of my bathroom. That's not happening that often. So what's interesting about this whole thing is when we look at the audience segmentation, it's all unknown because Meta cannot even identify our customer list for whatever reason. So we're kind of screwed there. That's the reason why we did CAPI imports. But the reason why this is struggling to go cold is because this ad here, a DP ad inside of Meta's now repertoire of the hierarchy, that is the targeting that this creative would do, which means you upload a shopping ad, it goes warm, kind of period. And we're seeing that often where we look at Black Point Seafood. Again, another example client that switched over to the Andromeda structure, one ad set, one campaign, that's it, and only optimizing off a purchase NC for new customer. Which, funny enough, just as a quick update, went from basically the whole first month of getting a $5,000 NCAC to now last 7 days, we're down to $298. Way better, way more purchases on new customers. Still going fairly warm at 69, and then we see 23 new customers. This one here, as an example, had a lot of sales, a lot of Prime Day catalogs, and then this catalog here actually has the most amount of new customers, but also the most amount of purchases. So 33 purchases, only 9 new. Now this 9 new is actually coming in at a fairly decent CPA, but because it is a catalog ad, it is going very warm. This is another sales ad, 25% off lobster. 3 out of the 9 are new. This one is a feature ad where we're not doing any sort of sale or any sort of deal. 2 out of 2 cold. So what's interesting about this, you're starting to notice a trend and pattern. Bottom of the funnel type of ads, returning customers. Top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, educational ads, more new customers. You can literally screw up every single thing in your top line metrics, your targeting, your creative performance, your CAPI imports. You can screw everything up by doing too many sales ads and not enough education. Literally, you can fall yourself right into a black hole where everything else now does not matter because the wrong creative was used. Look inside of Adesium. Look inside the Solid Striped account as an example. This thing was starting off okay, kind of struggling to get some metrics kind of going. It was $400 CPAs for NCAC. Now it's coming down. Now it went from 64. Now it's down to 62. Getting much better. Everything's looking nice, easy scale. The only reason why this thing started to increase the amount of new customers, especially more recently, was when we look at the ads. There is what you'll see is a 4th of July promo that was on and off. Watch this. Again, another quite simple example. This one started running on June 20th. Well, if we look at June 20th to this time period here compared to the previous period, you'll see that all of a sudden these ads gained all of the traffic and everything else was reduced by 90%. These were never turned off. They were always on, always, forever. So we saw the shift between having all the spend to being reduced by 90%, and our purchase NCs were kind of high. They were in like the 300s coming down. We finally breached like below, 90 and some of that, and these were coming down. New ads came in, said, haha, sale time. Brrr, just pumped in a whole, yes, warm traffic, new customers.
Yeah.
We burned through an audience. Now, after the sales shut off, which was actually on the 7th, which was yesterday, now today is going to look like, absolute pandemonium in terms of CPA. Like we're probably,
yeah. Well, it's like I feel like clothing drops is kind of like its own niche. Like that's been sort of figured out per se. And it's just like sales cycle.
Oh, for sure. Like we've been 114% increase in NCAC in 2 days. Again, for that reason, we burned through all of our warm traffic with sales ads, and now we're in rebuilding mode. All of our sale ads are off. But this is very important because as we introduced a DPA ad inside of an ad set that was crushing it, that DPA ad sucked up all the sales, sucked up all the new customer sales, and went the warmest. Then we had all cold traffic, and then we introduced a sale. So we introduced sale creative. Cold traffic went away. Warm traffic spiked up. All of our existing customers were blown through. All of our new customers were blown through. And now the day after a sale, we're doubling our NCAC. Normal procedure, though. There's always a lull after a sale. But how do you rebuild after a sale? You have to start going after cold traffic, new customers. So your content has to change again.
And then, not DPA.
Exactly. So every single time you upload an ad or every time you start to go into the creative iterative process, it's going to be very, very difficult for media buyers and strategists and companies to then put themselves in the mind of, okay, this is actually targeting we're talking about. We're not talking about creative. We're talking about targeting now. So our conversation of what ad should we produce? It's no longer right. It's almost like instead of like the question of what ad should we produce, it's now like, who are we going after and why? And what are we going to show them? Because you can run a 24/7 sale. Yes, your new customers hit the ground and all of your competitors who are educating and giving a good user experience are going to win. And that's unfortunately what a lot of companies that we worked with recently have been seeing. And that's why we're kind of rebuilding them.